Welcome into another edition of the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. My name is Eric Henriksen alongside Josh Day. Josh, how you doing? It is our 10th episode already. Can you believe it?
I'm shocked. When I saw that on the rundown, I was just, how can we be at 10? But here we are. Great time for podcasting and baseball.
That's right, absolutely. But how are you doing otherwise? I just wanted to do a quick little team check-in, see how things are going. We're in the fourth week of competition
Yeah.
on Yahoo, so about a month. Just how are things going for you?
It's, I guess, a bit of a mixed bag. My 10 uh team is probably my biggest disappointment. Just a lot of it's a good team with just a lot of underperforming players, injuries. So that's a bit frustrating, but hopefully, with the calendar flip into May, things will turn around a little bit. Not in panic mode. And the 12 team is pretty good. Can't really complain. Pitching is kind of spotty, but whose pitching staffs aren't? So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, absolutely.
pretty good.
I am terrified of my pitching staffs because I've played a lot of the waiver wire with the pitching
Oh
staff
yeah.
in both leagues, so I'm terrified. But we're going to talk about a few of those guys today on the show. So we're going to talk about not only the pitchers that have been very interesting to start the year, but we're also going to talk about a slew of recent prospect call ups, and we're going to see if we should roll the dice on some relievers. And we're not going to go in that order. First, we're going to start with the prospects. But quick reminder to please subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating. We're available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So let's talk prospects, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so first up, the biggest name of the past week that got the call, Nick Kurtz. I know we talked about him a little bit last week. Josh, what are your thoughts on Nick Kurtz?
He's definitely the most interesting of the call-ups that we'll be talking about. I think he has certainly the potential to hit for power and average. However, I think perhaps the success of like the new first baseman that we've been seeing over the past month might be inflating Kurtz's value. We're seeing breakouts from Soderstrom and Torkelson and Ben Rice, and we're thinking, this guy, his ceiling is power and average, so he's going to join the party. I think there's going to, with a lot of prospects we've been seeing over the past couple of years, there's probably going to be some adjustment period. We've seen him in games so far. He hasn't really done much other than hit the ball hard, but he's been hitting it into the ground. So, the jury's still out. I think if you have an extra roster spot, sure, take a flyer on him, see what happens over the next couple weeks. But yeah, I don't know.
The whole hitting the ball into the ground thing seems to be a habit of these bigger bats that get the call. And I say
Yeah.
bigger bats because we're going to talk about some smaller bats in a minute. But yeah, they typically, maybe it's just the timing. The ball gets to them a little quicker. The velocity's a little bit faster, in the majors. I don't know, but I've noticed that these prospects that get the call that are supposed to be big time power or just good hitters hit the ball into the ground quite a bit to start. But
Yeah.
I what I did find also really interesting in the first game, Tyler Soderstrom was replaced in left field for defensive purposes, and then in the
Hmm.
second game, Nick Kurtz was
Yeah.
replaced at first base. So I wonder how much shuffling the Athletics are really going to do just so that they don't have to put Brent Rooker in the outfield. So it could have a negative effect on Kurtz and Soderstrom's playing time.
Yeah, I also for a quick point on Soderstrom, I wonder, he's been slumping as well over the past, I think, 2 weeks. Last I checked in on him, so I do kind of wonder, putting him in left field. I wonder what if that's going to have any negative effects on his game, just because he's not, I don't think he's ever really played outfield, so I wonder if that's going to be taking away his mental space from his time at the plate. But I guess we'll see.
entirely possible. It would also be great to just put Brent Rooker in the outfield. Anyway,
Right.
uh, moving on, you got the Miami Marlins catcher prospect Augustin Ramirez. Got the call this week. He was the centerpiece of the Jazz Chisholm trade with the Yankees last year.
Mhm.
What do you think of Ramirez? I think of the names that we have on this list, which we'll recap at the end, I think he's the second most interesting. Maybe that's why I put him second.
To be honest with you, I haven't really looked into him because I don't think he's worth your time unless you play in a two catcher format.
Fair enough.
I do think, he's off to a hot start and, under the hood, it looks, pretty good for now. If you're in a shallow league and one of your catchers is, slumping hard, you can pick him up, slot him in, and just ride the hot start and see where it goes. But I wouldn't be dropping a top 10 catcher for him at this point.
No, I wouldn't either. And I think the most interesting thing about Augustin Ramirez is the speed element. Now he's not fast at all, right? But he's like what I termed on the midweek minutes episode earlier this week. He is a opportunistic base runner. He's already stolen 2 bases.
Mm.
But he is now going to be the subject of one of those, like, ridiculous baseball stats, is, like, he is the first player to ever do this on the 9th day of the month in the afternoon with the sun behind a cloud, like, some really
Right, yeah.
ridiculous thing. He was, like, 5 for 6 with, like and 2 stolen bases, and he's the first one to ever do some sort of ridiculous, like, meaningless statistic. But
Right.
now wanna move up north to the Brewers. They called up 3 prospects, but I wanna just and one of them got demoted already, but I wanna just focus on Caleb Durbin, who was the centerpiece again of another Yankees trade, along with Nestor Cortez for Devin Williams. Caleb Durbin got the call. Any thoughts on him? Personally, I have 0 interest.
I'm with you. I think he's not worth your time in 10 and 12 team leagues. I would imagine there's more interesting players that aren't prospects that you could probably shuffle in your lineup, if need be. But I don't really see this as an impact for fantasy outside, deeper leagues.
Just to touch on something that we talked about last week, Caleb Durbin has a 40 future value on Fangraphs. And one of the things that we talked about was really focusing on future values of like 60 or higher.
Yeah.
And so 40 is pretty low. It's slightly below average, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense.
Yeah, not much power there at all. I know he did hit a home run. I believe it was at 100 miles an hour off the bat, 375 feet. Aaron Judge does that, swinging one-handed, just to give you a comparison. So it's not much exit velocity coming off of Caleb Durbin. Speed is his greatest asset, and I would even say this: I don't think he's even a Matt Shaw replacement for you. Matt Shaw's upside is way higher. I'd rather stash Shaw on the bench than give a spot to Durbin.
I mean, outside of Kurtz, I would stash Shaw over all these guys.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Next up, another multi-position eligible call up, Luke Keeschel for the Twins. Keeschel has stolen a few bases already. He's shown some good contact skills. Any thoughts on Keeschel?
Again, like the trend with this is if you have like a slumping position player, like some of these guys are off to hot starts. I think one interesting thing about Keeschel for now is that he's really been keen to steal bases at a high clip. So I think if you have a slumping second baseman or outfielder, I think if he's eligible there in Yahoo, you could ride this hot start. But I'd be prepared to jump off the ride pretty quick. I don't know that he's going to be a standout in any one category. Just kind of looking at his minor league stats.
Yeah, I'd say maybe his biggest standout is speed because we've seen that already. 5 stolen bases in 6
Right.
games. I do think the funniest thing about Keeschel is on his Fangraphs page, in the prospects report, the prospects TLDR, it says Keeschel's best position is quote hitter.
Oh yeah, I think I heard he made some pretty bad defensive plays the other day, so that can spell trouble for him if he ever starts to slump. And I think I also Royce Lewis is on a rehab assignment, so
Well, for now, until he goes
Yeah,
back on another
I
one.
know, but they're gonna prioritize him while
Of
he's
course.
healthy. So
Yeah, Keishel, his defense is definitely lagging behind his offense. So who knows how long of an opportunity he'll get once there's some healthier players in Minnesota. And then last on the list, I want to talk about Chandler Simpson. Other than Kurtz, I think he probably has the highest potential to be a game changer for you because of one category, but really not much else there, right?
yeah, I think his standout is his speed, as seen last season in the minors. He stole a whopping 104 stolen bases. So yeah, I think if you need speed, you can definitely take a flyer on Simpson. I think he started a bunch of the past games for the Rays, so they seem to want to play him. So yeah, I think if you need speed, pick him up.
When was the last time you saw? I mean, this guy has one career home run in the minor leagues. One.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw this profile succeed? Was it like D. Strange Gordon?
Yeah, but that was such a long time ago.
It really was. The game has definitely changed since then. It's very exciting when prospects come up, and we're not really keen on most of these guys. But if you have a need, take a shot because you never know what could happen. So, with all that being said, how would you rank these guys? Did we pretty much go in order?
Well, I think I would go Nick Kurtz, Chandler Simpson, Luke Keeschel, Caleb Durbin, and then Ramirez.
So we
Although
did not go in order at all.
no, 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 but I think I was about to say we went in like reverse order, but
Yeah,
no,
almost.
I almost we kind of zigged and zagged, but no, we didn't. But I suppose I could flip Durbin and Ramirez if you need a catcher.
Name one catcher that you would drop for Augustin Ramirez. Would you drop Logan O'Hoppe for Augustin Ramirez?
No.
Would you drop Austin Wells?
Don't think so. Even though Wells is struggling a little bit, I think I'd stick with Wells for at least another month.
How about Sean Murphy?
Mm, I think I'd stick with Murphy just for the power he's shown on the track record.
And last one, if you were desperate, absolutely desperate, like there were no other options, would you pick up Carson Kelly or Augustin Ramirez?
Oh God. I mean, Kelly's just been like explosive, so it's like
Yeah.
that's tantalizing, and Ramirez is such an unknown.
I
I think
think I would take Ramirez personally.
really. Oh,
Yeah, because Kelly has been active all season, and he has
yeah,
38 at bats.
right. Yeah,
So
it's really.
he's not really the everyday catcher.
I think I'm with you then. I think I would take a shot on Ramirez there.
Oh, and just speaking of catchers, bit of quick news: Francisco Alvarez activated from the injured list to play today, batting seventh. Um, I would pick him up over all the other catchers we have mentioned here.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think another point to mention is that I think we're sort of in a holding period for the better prospects to come this season. I think these are kind of lesser prospects, maybe prospects that teams are just having guys fill in for injured starters. With the caveat of Kurtz, let's say. I think you're better off stashing higher end prospects that might be coming in May or June or maybe later, such as Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, Walker Jenkins, Jack Caglione, Bubba Chandler, Andrew Painter, Bryce Eldridge, maybe Jordan Lawler. I don't know if
Oh
he'll
yeah.
ever become a thing.
What
But
about what about Travis Bazana?
Travis Badana, sure.
Gotta
Those
go with the top pick in the
guys.
draft, right?
Yeah, those guys I think will be, have higher impact potential than I think a lot of the guys we just spoke about.
Those are the prospects that have gotten the call over the last week. Sort of middling, but Nick Kurtz, maybe the most interesting name out there. And I just want to ask you one more thing about him. What do you think his comp is? I've heard Matt Olson, which is pretty lofty, but also not what you're expecting out of the hit tool.
Well, I don't know about this season either.
No, of course not this season.
I,
Like maybe
I
peak.
think I, I think that would be peak. So
They also could be just saying, "Oh, look, a left-handed power hitting first baseman coming up through Oakland, Matt Olson." You know?
Yeah, I mean, sure, yeah. Uh, I guess, this is kind of a deep pull from more than several seasons ago,
Is it
but
gonna be deeper than when you pulled the Yerminator?
no, I think it might be deeper actually.
Whoa!
But I would say if people can remember, I would say like the best case scenario for Kurtz would be like when Reese Hoskins first came up for the Phillies.
Ooh. Okay.
Because I believe he played first base,
Yep.
first base prospect, and he just like he set the he went on a scorcher when he first came up, and so I would say if he can do something like that, that would be great.
Next up, we want to talk about some interesting starters that we've seen that might be breaking out, might not be breaking out. All right, Josh. So first up on the list, he had an explosive performance earlier this week. 6 innings,
Hmm.
14 strikeouts, no walks. And I know you have him in one of our leagues. I have him in the other. That's Max Meyer of the Miami Marlins. Is he breaking out? Is this the official coming out party for Max Meyer?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that way. It seems like he's getting better with each passing start. I know he raised eyebrows in spring training. That's sort of when I was alerted to him and added him, because he added velo to all like most of his pitches. He's
Yes.
throwing a lot harder. And I think what's interesting about Max Meyer is that he's generating more whiffs on pitches with not only his slider, and I think he's doing it more and more with each passing start. He's just getting outs with more of his pitches than just his slider. So yeah, I think he's a must add. You probably should have added him a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
I guess you could try and trade for him, but I would say he's in terms of interest of the other players we're going to talk about, I would say he's definitely the player to have.
100% agree with you, which is why we both roster him. I just want to check his roster rate real quick on Yahoo. 73% rostered, even after 20 plus 26% over the last day. So I don't like what have you been sleeping on? Everyone,
I
go
don't.
get. He's
Yeah.
got 4 quality starts already. This is a guy who's supposed to have an innings limit, who they're going to be very careful with. They've let him go six
Oh, right.
innings and
Yeah.
4 straight starts. Yeah, but you know what? That always seems to work itself out in good ways. I think Crochet was just the
Yeah.
exception to that rule last year because they had 100% intent on trading him.
Trading him. Yeah.
So I would not worry about an innings limit for Max Meyer. I mean, this guy has just been so good to start the year. He's got a 15% swinging strike rate.
Yep.
His Sierra is in line with his ERA is at 2.21. Max Meyer is breaking out. We're declaring it here on episode
Hmm.
10 of the Talking Fantasy Baseball podcast. And another guy who might be breaking out, and if you're a stuffist, as some people call themselves, he's got great stuff. All the stuff plus indicators say that he is taking everything, every pitch to another level, and that's Tylor Megill.
I'm not sure what to make of him. I think, a couple seasons ago, we kind of had this, tease of a breakout, and then it kind of didn't really amount to anything. And then I believe he was injured, and now he's back again, teasing us. Once again, I will say it seems to me like inconsistency is probably his biggest wart. So my guess is his results will vary from start to start. I mean, as we've seen already, there's short starts with not a lot of strikeouts. Then he has like kind of 5 inning start with, I think his last start he had 10
Yep.
strikeouts. So I think he might be a little frustrating in that regard. Like, I'm not sure you'll be able to like play because he's his own worst enemy. I'm not sure you'll be able to just play matchups with him. But I do think it's like in terms of like the early season pitchers that are showing promise, I do think he's worth picking up and stashing over the next couple of weeks to see if he can find a groove.
Yeah, I think there's 2 red flags for me, maybe 3, depending on how you want to categorize it, for Megill.
Uh-oh.
4 walks per 9, so he walks a lot
Yeah.
of guys. He's got a 0% home run to fly ball rate. He has yet to give up a home run. That automatically to me means regression is coming, and his ERA is below his ERA indicators, including the Sierra. It's about 2.5 runs lower.
Yeah.
So I do think there is regression coming for Tyler McGill. They also haven't let him go very deep into games. I think they keep pulling him at like 90 pitches, and maybe
Yeah.
that's just to keep him healthy because he's had that issue in the past. But if you, like I said, if you're a stuffist, man, all of his pitches have the stuff plus numbers have just gone through the roof. I mean, his fastball's 123 on the stuff plus meter right now, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
Another guy with seemingly great stuff going to the other coast, Landon Roop of your San Francisco Giants. Now, he did not have a good outing yesterday,
Mhm.
but have you, as a fan of the Giants, have you liked what you've seen?
Yeah, I think, his sinker and curve are his best weapons, and that's basically what's fueled most of his early success. But like Birdsong, he's pretty unproven as a starter. And like we've seen last night, there'll be inconsistency, whether it's short starts or blow up starts. So I think you'll just have to kind of ride that and have that expectation going forward as he develops into a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I think he's still probably learning how to pitch.
Yeah.
So that's a great point that you bring up. His ERA indicators are about a run and a half below his current ERA, and I think he's probably been a little unlucky in the home run to fly ball rate at 12.5%, and left on base percentage is also below league average at 69%. But you can give up runs pretty easily when you walk a lot of guys, almost 4 walks per 9 out of Roop as well. But yeah, being able to strike out that many players is great. So I think Roop maybe is gonna settle in this year as like your fifth starter.
Yeah, I
Yeah, pretty reasonable.
think that's
Uh,
reasonable.
next up is a guy that now I picked him up in one league. I dropped Tyler McGill for him because this is a league that is a K to walk rate league. It's the 12-teamer. And he's only walked like 3 guys all season.
Mhm.
And I know it's somebody that you're very much out on, but I have to
Mhm.
ask you, Matthew Liberatore, he's that magic age, 25, 26, 27 for a pitcher. What do you think? Is Matthew Liberatore putting it together and possibly breaking out?
Well, first of all, I was shocked to see that he's only 25. I thought he was like much older just
I know it's been a
because,
few years.
it's been a couple years. And there's been hype on him in the past, and he's failed time and time again to really amount to anything. So it's so early in the season, given his track record, I have a hard time buying into this. However, he has a very high K rate, and as you said, a really low walk rate. I believe it's like 2%. So, I guess you could do worse than to add him as just take a flyer on him and see where it goes.
That's exactly what I did. Matthew Liberatore's ERA indicators are a little bit below his current ERA of 3.6. He's kind of pitching about to his peripheral numbers, and I don't know. I think maybe he's just putting it together. I think there's even better luck ahead for him, and when you don't walk a lot of guys, that's always interesting to me. He's cut his walk rate significantly now. All of what we're saying about everybody today, it is April 25th, and anything could change.
Mhm.
But how do you rank this group? Max Meyer, Taylor McGill, Landon Roop, Matthew Liberatore.
I would go miles ahead with Meyer. Then I would go Roop, McGill, Libertor.
One last question about Max Meyer because he is far and away the best arm and most interesting arm in this group. If you don't have Max Meyer and you're trying to acquire him, who are you offering? Are
Oof.
you offering Robbie Ray? Do you think? I mean, you're a Max Meyer owner. I'm a Max Meyer owner. I don't think I'm accepting that.
I
For
wouldn't accept that. I would offer it, but I would not accept it.
let's see who else. Gavin Williams.
I kind of feel like Meyer is doing what we wanted, or like what we were dreaming on Williams to do.
Yeah,
So I think I might do that.
Oh, yeah, here's one for you. Would you take Mackenzie Gore or Max Meyer? We didn't include Gore on the list, but we have talked about him before. He's a bit up and down. But I'm looking at the starting pitcher rankings right now on Yahoo, current rankings. Now, of course, that's just based on performance that they've done, the accumulated stats, not how you might rank them or how you'd think they're going to do rest of season. They're right next to each other.
Yeah.
So, would you take Gore or Meyer?
I think I would go. I guess I'm struggling because I make like the Gore just feels inconsistent, like he has these
Yeah,
great starts, bad start, and it seems to be all on him. And then Meyer, I just said don't worry about the innings, but then it's like that comes into play. But also, I think the team context, I think it's worse for Max Meyer, although he does pitch in a great park. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go the hot player of the moment, and I'm gonna go with Meyer.
I would take Meyer too. I think Gore's too injury prone personally,
Oh,
and
there's that too.
we've seen a
No,
lot
no,
of. I
Meyer's
know.
been injured.
Yeah, that's true, but we've seen a lot of fluctuation in performance from Mackenzie Gore too, and we've
Yeah.
seen stretches that have been this good from him, and then he just
Falls
falls apart.
apart. Yeah.
I know you said pitchers are volatile, and one of the most volatile positions when it comes to pitching is the closer position, and we're going to talk about a few closers and the proverbial carousel in just a moment. First up, Arizona, AJ Puck on the injured list. Justin Martinez supposed to step in. What do you think his ceiling is to be the full-time closer in Arizona? Do you think top 5, top 10, or are people just really giving him way too much credit? Because if you look at his whip last year, it was not good.
Right, but he has a pretty high strikeout rate.
That is
So
true.
I think Martinez with the puck injury, I think his stock has gone way up. I know Martinez there was like an injury scare,
Yeah, shoulder fatigue.
but I think it's all right. Yeah, I think Martinez's stock definitely gone up. I don't know that I'd put him top five just yet, but I think, he plays for a good team, and, so far so good with him. So I would say sure he could have a ceiling of top 10 going forward.
If he for some reason is available, I doubt he is, but if he's available, I think he's the priority ad in all the
Oh yeah.
closers that we're gonna mention. Now going back to your San Francisco Giants, what is going on there? Is Camilo Duvall
Yeah.
the closer again? Is Ryan Walker the closer? What's happening?
Oh God. Yeah, I have both of them in our 10 team
Handcuffing
league.
yourself. You got to do it.
I gotta do it, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a frustrating situation because Walker had two back-to-back blow-up starts after looking fine. I think at the beginning of the year he had a back issue, which there was kind of questions around, is he injured? What's going on? And then Duvall stepped in and closed out a couple games, and now here we are with Duvall with two back-to-back saves. I think Walker was unavailable for the last save. So yeah, it's a real murky situation. I think even though Duvall has looked okay, although he was kind of bad, I think the first week.
Yes, he was.
Also, he's not. Also, he's not striking anybody out. Duvall isn't. So I kind of think Walker's the better pitcher. I'm hoping he just kind of figures it out. But yeah, unfortunately, I think this is a definite handcuff situation until the situation works itself out.
I personally would say your worst bat that you have on your team, let's say you have a bench bat, if you don't need that and you're a Ryan Walker owner, maybe drop that bat to pick up Duvall just to see how things are going to play out.
Yeah.
Because that is a team that consistently has a lot of save opportunities, good or bad years for the organization.
Mhm.
So I would think that is a higher priority than whatever bench bat you're keeping in that
Yes.
roster spot. Now moving over to Detroit, Tommy Kahnle, Will Vest, AJ Hinch doesn't care. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a managed classic manager getting cute with his bullpen. I think Will Vest is the true investment for fantasy managers. He just, I think his stuff is better. I think he's striking more guys out, and I think that's going to play in the ninth inning better than what Canely has to offer.
Invest.
I think he was. I think if my memory serves, I believe Vest was kind of like a hot ad maybe like a season or two ago
Yeah.
for the Tigers.
But they were bad then. Now they're at least, decent.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of like looking at his track record, and I think he has the makings of being a ninth inning guy. So yeah, I would go with Vest.
All right. So the last name I wanted to ask you about is just to see, are you keeping an eye on David Bednar, or are you just saying, he's got no shot at regaining that closer role?
Dennis Santana, the current closer, is very forgettable, and he's not really striking anybody out. He's currently has a 1.59 ERA, but his xFIP is 4.5.
Oof.
I just think that's just closer waiting to be replaced.
Disaster ahead.
So I suppose, if you need a closer and if Bednar was dropped, I suppose you could pick him up as a spec ad and see if he regains the closer position, but not a great team. So I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to Pittsburgh.
If Bednar regains the closer situation, let's just say in a couple weeks, right? Let's say it's beginning of May, he gets it back. What do you think is over under saves rest of season? 17 over under.
Maybe under, maybe like right there, 17.
So of these closers that we've talked about, Justin Martinez, if he's available, pick him up. He is the closer, and he has a really good chance of running away with the job. If you're a Ryan Walker owner, pick up Duvall so until that whole situation figures itself out. And if you're looking for a closer like I was, pick up Will Vest. Like I said, invest. And I got that from you. You texted me that the other day. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode. We'll be back next week, probably Tuesday, with the midweek minutes to get you caught up on all the most important news and notes from around the league. So if you haven't listened into one of those yet, you're going to want to do that. And then, of course, we'll have our full-length episode at the end of the week as well. And to make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. So for Josh, I'm Eric, saying have a good weekend.
Invest.